Hello, good morning everybody. I hope you had a wonderful week. My name is Erin and I am a fitness instructor and yoga instructor at the YMCA of Cass and Clay County and also Family Wellness in Fargo. Today I'm here with a yoga foundations class. This is a wonderful class for all levels of yogi. It focuses on the basic foundational movements of yoga, from breath to posture and alignment and moving through poses. So whether you are brand new to yoga or are an avid yogi, this is a great class to help expand your practice from the ground up. So what you're going to need today is a soft surface or a yoga mat. You're going to want a yoga block, or if you do not have a yoga block, just a folded up bath towel. And then we're going to use a strap today. You can use a stretch strap, a yoga strap, or a canvas or leather belt that is at least an inch in width. So you don't want to use like a bendy strap or tubing or anything like that. So you want something that's nice and sturdy that we're going to use to help us through some of our postures today. Let's go ahead and get started in a seated position on our mat. We're going to open our practice today with some deep three-part breath, placing one hand on our heart and one hand on our belly. Take the next few moments just to breathe naturally, closing your eyes and just feeling the air coming in and out of your lungs. Now engaging in that three-part breath, we're going to take a deep inhale through the nose, feeling it through the throat, through the chest, through the belly, expanding, filling with air, and exhale through the nose, forcing all that air out, feeling the belly sink, the diaphragm lifting, the lungs deflating. Inhale. And exhale. As you go through these breaths, the deep inhalation, deep exhalation, think about inhaling new, fresh energy and exhaling old, unneeded energy, unwanted feelings, things that no longer have a positive influence on us. Just go ahead, exhale and let it out into the world, releasing it from yourself. Using these deep breathing techniques to help calm the mind, relieve stress, promote sleep, just give you an overall sense of peace and well-being. Letting your eyes flutter open, we're going to bring our hands to heart center. We're going to choose a word or a phrase that's going to help us through practice today and possibly even through the rest of our day. A mantra or a word that has significance to you. Maybe you like the word strength. Maybe you like the word balance. Maybe you like the word love. Or a mantra, sometimes just using the phrase I am and filling it in with whatever you need. I am strong. I am secure. I am needed. Taking a moment to fill in that mantra with whatever word suits you that you can keep with you on your mat today. Fluttering your eyelids open. We're gonna inhale our arms up to the sky, letting that left arm drop to the mat, taking the right arm overhead. Both our hips are on the mat, nice and steady, finding that good grounding base through the hips, that root lock. Inhale, bringing both arms up. Exhale, back to prayer. Taking a moment here to lengthen the spine. Feel those hips pushing into your mat, those sits bones, engaging and lifting up through that pelvic floor, finding that secure, steady root lock within your core. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, bringing the right hand to the mat and taking the left arm over. Feeling a nice open stretch through the left side of the body. Core is nice and tight, lifted and long. And inhale, both arms up. Exhale, through heart center. And resting them on our knees. We're going to take our right hand behind, left hand towards the right knee, lengthening the spine and taking a nice easy twist. Maybe looking behind you, keeping that chest nice and open, hips rooted into the ground, and inhale back to center. Deep breath in. Left arm behind, taking the right arm to the left knee. Nice, easy seated twist. Taking that gaze back behind your left shoulder. Nice, relaxing twist here and back to center. We're going to move into child's pose. When we get into child's pose, we like to keep our knees slightly apart, bringing the toes together and sitting your hips back towards your heels, taking your forehead to the mat. Now, as you get into this pose, perhaps your forehead doesn't come all the way down to the mat, and that is fine. We separate the knees a little bit to allow a little extra room for our center and our torso to come down. But you can also take your towel or a block and use that to raise the earth up to you so you have that connection of forehead to mat. And from here, you're just gonna reach the fingertips long. So really think about lengthening through the shoulder, out through the fingertips, sitting the hips back. So if you don't need the towel, you can get your forehead down, that's great. And just take some nice movement, whatever feels good here. Maybe just a little side to side movement. Reaching long. Think about reaching the fingertips long, but yet pulling the shoulder blades back. So it's a little bit oppositional. The goal is to keep the shoulders from coming up to the ears. So we want to draw the shoulder blades together. And inhale, we're going to come up to that tabletop position. Once again, finding a good grounded position, nice and stable, sturdy like a table. So you're going to find that hand lock, spreading your fingertips wide, pushing through the pads of your fingers. Bracing that hand, locking that hand into the ground. Shoulders are over the wrists, hips are over the knees. Knees are about hip width distance apart. And you're just going to sit back and come up. Nice easy movement, warming up the knees, the hip flexors, through the shoulders and wrists. breath to movement. Exhale, shifting the hips back to the feet. Inhale, center. Exhale, shifting back. Inhale, coming to center. Exhale, shifting back. Inhale, finding center, and from here, taking that right leg and just stretching it out behind us. Holding it here, option to lift it up so you have that nice long line. Flexing the foot, driving the heel back. Think about pulling out of that hip joint. And lower down and sit it back, child's pose. Bend the elbows, rotate those wrists. And coming back into that tabletop position, extending the left leg out, drawing that heel towards the back wall, and then option to raise it up. Nice long line from heel to hip, engaging that core so our belly doesn't sink down, pulling it up nice and tall, and bringing it down. Taking a moment here to flow through our cat-cow. On a nice deep inhale, we're going to drop the belly to the mat, taking the tailbone and the crown of the head to the sky. Into cat or cow. Exhale, round the belly out. Into cat. Belly button coming up through the spine, chin towards the chest, rounding the shoulders. And inhale, open the chest, drop it down into that cow pose. Exhale, cat. Inhale, cow. This is a heat building sequence that helps engage the entire core, gets the blood flowing, builds some warmth through our body. And cat. Last time, and cat, coming down into neutral spine, sitting it back, child's pose, reaching it long. Taking a moment here to focus on that breath, inhaling through the nose, exhaling through the nose. And coming back to a tabletop position. Once again, working through that spinal extension. You're going to extend the right leg out. And option to leave it here or raise it up, drawing the heel long. And if your balance is up for it today, go ahead, take that left arm, reaching it long. Think of a nice long line. Really engage. Just take a moment to hold it here and feel how much heat starts to build through that core. Now you always have the option to leave the hand down or leave the foot down. So take it to whichever level feels right for you today. Engaging in that breath for 3. And inhale for 2. And set it down. Exhale, hips back. Inhale to center. And exhale, hips back. Inhale to center. Extending that left leg long. Finding the same position as you did on the other leg. You can raise that leg if you'd like. You can add that arm. Gaze is down at the mat. Think of a nice straight line. Pull that belly button up so your belly's not sagging down. You should have a nice, beautiful straight spine. Reaching long. Inhaling for 3. And exhale. And 2. it down, sit it into child's pose. Beautiful. All right, we're gonna walk through our first downward facing dog by tucking the toes, shifting the hips up and back. Heel draws towards the back of the mat. Now this first one may feel a little tight, so you can go ahead and pedal it out. We can bend and extend the knees. You can raise and lower the heels. Just finding whatever movement feels good here. Remember that hand lock, nice wide finger base through the pads of the fingers. Think about drawing the shoulder blades as we find a nice stable position in our first down dog today. Think about pulling the shoulders back, opening up the elbows a little bit. We don't want to hyperextend the elbow, so nice soft bend in the elbow. And go ahead, shift down, back into that tabletop, and back into child's pose. Bending the elbows, rotate out those wrists. Inhale back into child's pose. So another tip for if your wrists do get a little sore, if they're not used to that extreme flexion from down dog, roll your mat a couple times or take your towel and put the palm of your hand on the edge to help elevate it up a little bit so the weight really isn't bearing through the wrists, but through the fingertips. Also with the elbows, it's easy to want to hyperextend that elbow when you're in an inverted position like that. So think about rotating that elbow open and softening it so you're not hyperextended out, but you have a nice strong base all the way from the shoulder right to the wrist. Once you establish that great down dog, it feels so good because it really is a huge key in a lot of transitions between poses. All right, and coming back down into a tabletop position, we're gonna come into our first low lunge, pulling our right leg up. We're gonna start in a kneeling lunge. Now this is a great, if you have a block, this is a great time to use that block. Or if you have two, you can also use a stack of books or that towel. Sometimes a stack of books is really nice, or even a small bench, just for some stability. I'm going to be using my block today. And you're just going to find that nice position. When we lunge, our knee stays over the ankle and the hips are forward, facing forward. And you're just going to take that nice low lunge here. And if you'd like to go a little further, if you have that block, you can extend that back leg out, or you can keep it down right here. And wherever you're at right now, whether your back leg's extended or down, go ahead, see if you can balance by taking those hands to heart center or raising them up, biceps by your ears. If your shoulders are up like this, draw them back and down. And beautiful. Exhale, come back, down, bring that leg back into tabletop, and let's sit it back into child's pose. Child's pose is considered kind of the home base. So if that ever through your practice, you're feeling that the pose you're in is not quite right for you, feel free to come to child's pose and just find that reset with your breath, and then move back into the practice wherever and whenever you feel ready. beautiful thing about yoga, your mat is your space and you can do whatever it is that feels right for you. Inhale, coming up. Let's tuck those toes and find that downward facing dog. This time feeling a little more warm. Remember about those arms through the hands, drawing the toes back or heels down. Nice base through the feet. And coming back into that tabletop position, pulling that left leg up into your low lunge. Using your stack of books, your towel or your block, or even a chair. Option to take those arms, binding. Whatever level works for you, drawing the shoulder blades down. If you'd like to try taking that leg extension here into that crescent lunge, go right ahead. One thing to think about as we're in here is how we lock the foot into the ground. Think of your foot as having 4 corners, big toe, small toe, and then each side of the heel. We want that foot to be firmly planted in the ground, but we don't want to clench at the mat, so the toes should be able to lift. So kind of feel how your toes are in that front, and locking that foot into the ground is what makes this more possible. Beautiful. Oh, I know it's a lot of work. Coming back, sitting back, child's pose. Nice job. And inhale, we're gonna transition to a standing position. From downward dog, we're gonna walk our feet to our hands, soft bend in the knee, hinge at the hip, and sweep the arms up to the sky. Coming down through heart center, finding mountain pose. We're gonna take our feet hip-width distance apart. In mountain pose, really focus on grounding that foot into the floor. So think about, can you lift your toes? Shoulder blades are down and back. Fingertips are strong. So there's the difference between just standing with your arms out and engaging, creating that dynamic tension and that strength. Being strong and tall like a mountain. This is a base pose for standing positions. So once again, as you're flowing through any standing postures, this is a great pose to come back to. If you need to reset, regain your breath, or just take a small break. From here, we're going to sweep our arms up overhead, and we're going to sink down into chair pose. Bringing your hands to heart center for the moment. Once again, shoulder blades are down, drawn together. Think about adjusting that spine so you're not pulling that pelvis down or tucking it under, but you have that nice neutral spine, and knees are over the ankle, pointed towards the toes. So another way that you can keep those knees in alignment is to take that towel or that block and just squeeze it right in between, so you have the same distance between your feet that you do your knees. So if you're not kneed or your knees tend to turn in, having that towel to help work on that rotation outwards is going to be a nice tool for you. So as we're sitting here in chair, you're going to feel some heat start to build in those quads. Loose the towel here. option to raise those arms up. Sit back a little bit lower if you'd like. And inhale, straighten. Exhale, we're going to take a forward fold. You're going to hinge at the hips, soften the knee, bringing your hands down. You can place them behind your calves. You can take them to the floor. You can bring the floor to you by using that block or towel. And coming up, soft bend in the knees, scoop the arms up like a reverse swan dive. Up and pull it down through heart center, shoulder blades together. Mountain pose. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, we're going to sit back into that chair. Holding it here, nice and strong. And forward fold. Inhale, sweep the arms up. Through heart center. Mountain pose. So flowing through a sun salutation, using those base movements, we're going to sweep the arms up. Exhale, forward fold. Taking a halfway lift, hands on the shins or the thighs, flat back, hinge at the hips. Taking one hand, then the other, down to your mat, and stepping back, finding a plank position or kneeling plank position. Lower down to the mat. Coming into cobra. So our shoulder blades are drawn together, elbows are in. We don't roll through our cobra or up dog. We like to just push straight up, lengthening the spine. So through cobra, or if you are in chaturanga, pushing straight up into that up dog. Tucking the toes, finding downward dog. So if you ever get sore shoulders when you do your chaturanga, think about when you are coming into that plank position, shoulders are right over the wrists. As you lower down, keeping that torso straight, elbows back, pushing straight up instead of rolling through. And then releasing the toes. And then tucking and shifting straight into down dog. So you don't have that forward rolling motion through the shoulders that can irritate the rotator cuff. Inhale, we're going to look forward. You're going to take that right foot forward, finding either your low lunge or your crescent lunge. Wherever you're at here, hands can be at whatever place you'd like. We like to hold these for several breaths. Remembering that alignment of knee to ankle, knee always going in the same direction as that foot. Hips forward, shoulders down, and coming down. So if you're already down on your knee, perfect. Go ahead, bring that other leg back. Let's find that downward facing dog. Pressing through the pads of the fingertips, drawing the shoulder blades back. Walk your feet to your hands. Soften the knee. Sweep the arms to the sky. Sink back, chair pose. And forward fold. Halfway lift. Go ahead, plant your left hand, then your right. Stepping your left foot, then your right. Finding that plank. If you're in extended plank from here, or kneeling plank from here. Extended plank, taking that chaturanga into that up dog, or from kneeling plank, coming all the way down to your mat, pushing up into that cobra. And lower. Exhale, take it back. Downward facing dog. Bringing the right knee to the mat, pulling the left knee forward, finding your low lunge with the option to extend that back leg. And holding here for 2 more breaths. Inhale deep through the nose and exhale. And bringing the hands down, shifting that leg back, tabletop, down dog. Always the option to come to child's pose. Walk the feet to the hands and sweep the arms all the way up. Passing through heart center, meeting in mountain pose. Taking some deep, relaxing breaths here. And from here, we're going to move to the foundations of warrior. So warrior pose involves a lot of movement through the hips and thighs and ankles. So stepping at the top of your mat, you're going to take your right foot back, bending the left, aligning that knee over the ankle, straight forward. The right foot is planted, all 4 corners of that foot. So if your foot is rolling forward, or you find that it's rolling back, or your knee is twisting in, because your knee still wants to follow that foot, then just shorten your stance a little bit. This does not have to be a huge movement. So your hips are forward. Weight evenly distributed between that back leg, that front leg. We're rotating through the leg, that foot on the ground, knee over the ankle, hips forward. We're just going to keep our hands here at heart center, or of course you have the option of taking them up overhead. So this is your base, your warrior 1. To find warrior 2, you just open up against the long edge of your mat. Now you may want to heel toe it out and widen that stance. You might be perfectly comfortable in a more narrow stance. It just depends on where you want to go. Just remember this knee. You don't get lower by popping this knee forward. You get lower by widening the stance and sinking the hips down so the knee stays over the ankle. This foot, still all 4 corners planted into the mat. Shoulders aren't hunched up. They're relaxed down, fingertips long, gazing past those front fingers. Beautiful warrior stance here. Once you have a nice base, think about those toes. Are you able to lift them slightly? Is your foot locked through those 4 corners? And bringing your hands to heart center, shifting back to warrior 1, and coming to the top of your mat, mountain pose. I'm going to switch sides here. You can stay right where you are. We're going to step that left foot back, finding warrior 1. So take a moment to find where you want to be. Knee over ankle, toes to the front, knee to the front, hips facing front, 4 corners of that foot, so you're not rolled forward like this. Press back into that foot. So you're pressing, it's like you're pressing in 2 different directions. That ball of that front foot's pushing that way, like you're trying to rip your mat in half. That's the dynamic tension you want. Open it up, warrior two. Option to widen that stance if that's more comfortable. Beautiful. Nice deep breath here. And we're gonna shift back, finding that warrior one and pulling that leg forward. Mountain pose. Beautiful job. All right, we're gonna come back down to our mat, focusing on just a few more key poses. Coming down to your back, go ahead, pull your knees into your chest. So now you can wrap your hands around your knees and roll side to side, but that can cause a little bit of a strain as you pull down. So sometimes it's nice to just wrap your hands, put your hands like in that crease, your knee pit, I like to call it. And just go ahead, pull the knees towards your chest. You can feel a nice stretch if you want to pull that head slightly off the mat. Nice movement, nice stretch in the low back here. And lowering the feet down. Think about, once again, locking the feet into the floor, all four corners. Pelvis is nice and neutral. Hands, palms down, push into the floor. And you're just gonna raise the hips up into that bridge. You have a grapefruit. We have a grapefruit between our chin and chest, so we're not choking off our airway. Nice and open. The shoulder blades are making a nice long base, nice strong base. And we're lifting up through the core. So you don't necessarily have to squeeze the glute muscles. You can release the glutes and use that core to hold those hips up. So if you find that your feet are rolling or your knees are rolling open, you can also keep a block or that towel in between your legs to engage those muscles to stay in that position. Lift and lower. And lift. Pressing through the feet. And lower. And pull the knees to the chest. And slowly rock back and forth. And rolling to one side, coming into a seated position. We're going to take that strap or that belt, straighten the right leg out to the side, tuck the left leg in. Taking that strap, we're going to hold, put it over the arch of the foot, and just reach over. If you want, you can hold on to both sides, or you can keep that hand on your hip, kind of rotating, looking up towards the ceiling, and coming up, and then squaring your body so it faces that straight leg. Go ahead, walk your hands down the strap. If you can come all the way, that's great. Once again, the knees nice and soft, and you're just kind of reaching forward. Slowly letting your forehead come down to that knee. And coming back up, releasing it, coming into a cross-leg position. You're going to take your right hand overhead, holding onto that strap or that belt, reach that left arm behind, and walking your hands as close together as you can, taking a nice stretch, nice opener here. So I'll show you from behind. Turning back around, beautiful. and release. Keeping that right leg tucked in, left leg to the side. You can go ahead, take that strap, and reaching up if you want to hold on. See if you can turn that head, looking up. Go ahead, square the body off that straight leg and walk it down. Remembering that nice deep breath. Holding these long stretches at the end for about 8 to 10 breaths. Inhale, coming up, releasing the strap, tucking that left leg in front again, and reaching up, holding that strap in the left hand, and reaching behind with the right, walking your hands together, getting a nice chest opener, nice shoulder stretch. Down on our backs, knees to a tabletop position, arms to the side. Go ahead and lower your knees down to the right. Turning your head in the opposite direction. Feeling a nice twist in that spine. So this is another opportunity where you could place that towel or that block right underneath your legs just to keep it a bit more comfortable. If you'd like, let them rest on that block. Inhale, coming back to center. Exhale, lowering down to the other side. Turning your head opposite direction. Shoulders relaxed into the mat. And back to center. Once again, pulling those knees into the chest, nice and tight. Curling into a little ball. And relaxing down into final relaxation. So as you find your final resting position, I want you to lay down on the floor. Let your toes fall open. Let your hands relax into the floor. Close your eyes. Breathing comes back to normal. And just take the next few moments to let your mind clear itself of any to-dos, any what-ifs, and just be at peace, finding that spot in your mind where you can just kind of float, relaxing through the shoulders, spine melting into the floor, hips nice and light, knees and elbows are soft, fingertips are heavy, and just breathe. Taking moments like this throughout your day to help calm your nerves, ease any anxieties you may have, slowing down the heart rate, and help lower the blood pressure. So many benefits to just taking a moment to be at peace. When you are ready, roll to one side. When you are ready, wiggle your fingers and toes. Move your wrists and ankles. Pull your knees up into your chest, one, then the other. Slowly rock back and forth and roll onto your favorite side. Using that bicep as a pillow, slowly open your eyes and make your way up to a comfortable seated position. Bringing our hands to heart center. Thank you so much for allowing me to guide you through this practice today. It truly is an honor and a privilege. Whether this is your first practice or your 100th practice, it is always important to make that time to come to your mat. Bowing forward and close. Namaste. Thank you so much. We will see you soon.